Hey, so happy you are here today. We are going to talk all things Pinterest in your business. So I hope you're ready. I'm going to go ahead and get my slides going for you. And we're just going to dive right in. So here we go. So I am Shannon Marie Bennett. This is just a little bit about me and my sweet little family here in Middle Tennessee. I also am a product brand owner and founder of Creative Crayons Workshop for the past 9 years, which is pretty wild, and definitely an Etsy business owner. So we're going to talk about how Etsy and Pinterest go hand in hand and really how Pinterest is a amazing traffic driver to lead you to more sales. Okay, so first of all, let me just say you need a Pinterest business account. I get asked that all the time. If you have a personal Pinterest account, you can definitely swap it over to business and hide any, boards or pins that you don't want other people to see. So you could either create a new business account or you could go ahead and take your personal Pinterest account and transfer it over to a business account. Okay. This is why you're going to want to do that. I thought this was a pretty cool statistic. This blows my mind. Over 578 million monthly users on Pinterest. That is crazy. Right? Like, who wouldn't want a slice of that pie? So 80% of those people that are scrolling on Pinterest, which we call those people pinners, they are doing so on their phone. So that's important to note when you're making your pins, to know that they need to be mobile friendly. So the majority of the people that are, the users of Pinterest, the pinners, they are anywhere between 25 to 35 years old. Now, having said that, because the pie is so many millions, hundreds of millions of people, there definitely is an older age bracket up to 65 that does use Pinterest. It's just not quite as large, but something to note when you're thinking about your audience over on Etsy with, purchasing your products. So, and then users on Etsy are 3 times more as likely to click through on a pin over to your Etsy account to possibly make a purchase on Pinterest. That is huge as well. And if you didn't actually know, Pinterest is not actually social media. It's considered a search engine. And the reason that that's so important is because Pinterest is evergreen. That means that when you make a pin, it potentially could last forever. So the pin that I make today, somebody might find 8 years from now. And if my link is still active, they can still purchase that item. Whereas I don't know about you, but most of my posts on Facebook or Instagram, they disappear pretty immediately. So Pinterest is good to know for that in driving traffic because I don't know about you, but I like to work smarter and not harder. And then lastly, it's really important to know that over 85% of those Pinterest users say that they have actually made a purchase through a pin. That is huge because we're here to make money, right? Like, our Etsy stores are here to make sales, and that's what I'm going to show you how to use Pinterest for. And then 46% of people say that they have discovered new brands on Pinterest, which hopefully is your brand in the process. So Pinterest, it definitely goes beyond followers, and it's more about being found than being followed. So a lot of people, like me, for example, my Pinterest account is actually about 9 years old. My followers is just over 500 people. That's pretty small in comparison to a lot of other platforms. But that does not matter because I get hundreds of thousands of people on my Pinterest account every month, a lot of them clicking over into my pins, and I do make regular sales on Pinterest, and I'm going to show you how to do the same thing. So let's talk about building your visibility on Pinterest in your Etsy store. Okay. There are 4 different types of pins that you can create. So this is showing that for you. You can have a video pin, which everybody knows what a video pin looks like. You can have an image pin. That's just a static image that you would pin, like of your product or however it may be. You can actually do a product pin, and that means you're posting your pin directly. Whereas an image pin, it could be more like lifestyle, for example. Whereas see how the price tag is in there in the product pin, whereas this is more of a lifestyle. Like, maybe they're selling the hat because it says it in the title, and that's really important to know. I'll talk about that in a few minutes, but words are so important. Keywords are so important on Pinterest. So they're selling a hat because it says it in the title, and then I see the hat in the image, but there's no price tag. So this isn't a product pin because I can't shop from it. This is a product pin It's talking about ceramics. There's lots of ceramics, as you can see in this image, and it shows me a price right there. That means that I know as a pinner, if I click on that, I can instantly buy what is on that shelf. And then the last pin, and actually the newest type of pin on Pinterest, it's called a collage pin. Now, a collage pin is like back in the day, how you might like put lots of little tiny pieces of paper onto like a cork pin board. It's the same concept, but digitally. The neat thing about a collage is that all of these individual items that you would curate together onto one pin, they're all clickable onto a different link. So if you were, it looks like this specific collage is maybe something to do with fashion or maybe a color scheme. So the person that created this did so intentionally so that the pinner who lands on it, when they click on anything, hopefully it lands to, I hope whoever created this pin is selling those items and then they would make a sale. So those are the 4 types of pins that you can keep in mind that you want to make. You want to keep a variety on your Pinterest pin or your Pinterest page, I'm sorry. And then the anatomy of a pin, which basically is what makes your pin, okay? So you have your title right here, your description, your link, which could be your Etsy shop link. It could be your Etsy product listing link. It could be your social media link. You can send them wherever you want to in this link, but do so very strategically. Then you have the board that you're going to make your pin to, any related tagged topics, products, and then schedule date. You don't have to schedule it. You can publish it now, but it does give you the option. So something to note is that I think I mentioned this before. SEO stands for search engine optimization, and it is key in Pinterest strategy. So if you have an Etsy store, you know how important keywords are over on Etsy. It's the same for Pinterest. So probably a lot of the keywords that you're already using in your listings on Etsy, I would very strategically use those same keywords in here. So it looks like maybe they're selling some kind of pasta. I'm not really sure what's going on here, but if it is pasta that's your keyword, it might be cold pasta salad for dinner. And you would put that in your title. And then in your description, if your keyword is cold pasta salad for dinner, I always start my description with a sentence and I would say, are you looking for a great, refreshing dinner for the summer? How about a cold pasta salad for dinner? And then go on with your description. But the more that you can be redundant with that keyword everywhere, you save your image with the keyword, the title has your keyword, the description has your keyword, your link, really, I would suggest definitely using your Etsy shop or your Etsy product listing, but strategically place your link there. The board is like if you think of like Russian nesting dolls, the board is the bigger picture of what you're putting the pin on. So it needs to be related. So, if this is a pasta dish, then my board might be called Italian dinner ideas, for example. So you want to make sure that your pin is going on the relevant board. And then for topics right here, just like with Etsy, you get topics, kind of like the tagged keywords in Etsy, which this is what this pin right here is showing. When you start to type in your topic, it will auto-populate some words that are relevant to the word that you're typing in. So you get 10 topics, which is very generous of Pinterest, and it will help the SEO and the algorithm to find your pin to give the pinner in a relevant search situation. And then the last is tagging your product, which if you have a link here and it's already your product link, you can definitely use it here as well. But if you have your Etsy shop link here and you want to put your product linked here, you can do both in the same 2 different spots on the same pin. Okay? So that's the anatomy of your pin. Now it's very important to notice, I keep saying strategy, and Pinterest is all about using a strategy to get the pinners driving traffic over to your Etsy store. So think about the content that you're serving to the people who land on your pin. It always needs to be valuable, right? If you want them to actually save it or click on it, something to note is that saving and clicking are way more valuable on Pinterest than somebody who just gets an impression, which basically means that they slow their scroll, but they didn't actually do anything with the information. So if you want someone to save and click on your pins, value first is important. Something that is problem solving, okay? And how to pins, like how to solve whatever the problem is, how to, oh gosh, I don't know, how to knit a winter scarf, right? That might be a pin that's like, if I don't know how to knit and I see that, I might think, oh, that's going to help solve my problem, right? So a how-to pin that helps educate people, as well as a list or a tutorial or other ideas of pins that will get you high click-through rates and saves. So in doing your research on, okay, let me back up. When you're creating your pin, I talked about the keywords, which you've already researched for your Etsy listing, right? So you have an idea of what keyword research is. I would definitely recommend right here where it says utilize Pinterest trends. When you go into the dashboard of your Pinterest account, kind of in the, you're going to click on the top left corner, and then this menu is going to appear, and you'll find Pinterest trends in the middle. Pinterest Trends is Pinterest's version of trending keywords that customers and pinners are looking for. So you want to kind of align the Pinterest trends with your products and then use them in your pins. And then lastly, if you blog, you can definitely link your pins to your blogs because it's kind of like a supercharge for the SEO. And don't forget to tag the products in your shop, okay? All right, so this is just, reiterating what I just said. Understanding Pinterest SEO is really vital for identifying the trending topics. I mean, Etsy is all about trends, right? Seasonal trends or, gifting trends, whatever the trend may be. That's what Etsy is pushing forward to their customers. It's the same with Pinterest. So when you align those trends together in your Pinterest strategy, you will drive more traffic and engagement over to your Etsy shop. All right, this is just proof of the pudding of Beata. She was using this Pinterest strategy that I'm talking about and sent this snapshot, which showed that her Pinterest account got a 141% increase in traffic from using this simple Pinterest strategy that does not cost you any money, just your time to drive people over to her products. Okay, so it really does work. And something also to note is that Pinterest is a long game. So it's, yes, there is definitely a chance that a pin that you create today, somebody might click on, but it's kind of like a snowball that you push down a hill, and the longer that snowball rolls, the bigger it gets. Same thing with your pins. The longer they live on Pinterest, the more love the algorithm is going to get and the more clicks you'll get on your pins. Okay. So, you want to, like I just said, use competitive research and relative research when you're searching your keywords over for your Pinterest strategy. You can do so in this little search bar example over on Pinterest. You know where the search bar is at the top. When you start to type in accessories, for example, it will auto-populate a bunch of words that follow accessories. Accessories for bedroom, maybe it's accessories for wedding, accessories for prom, whatever it might populate is going to give you an idea of what people are already searching for that you can tap into with your pins and get more sales into your products. So you don't have to recreate the wheel. They're doing a lot of the work for you. Okay, and when we were talking about Pinterest trends, every year Pinterest does something called Pinterest Predicts. If you can ever sign up for it and hop on it live. It's usually in like November or December, I think, of the end of the year. But Pinterest takes all their data from the entire year of people doing all these searches, right? Over about 600 million people every month are on Pinterest, and they analyze that data and predict what the trends are going to be for the upcoming year. This is important because 80% of those predictions have come true, which is amazing if you're selling products because you don't have to wonder what to sell. They're going to give you a whole report in their Pinterest trends of what to know, what you should be shooting for. Okay, so Keywords. I can't say it enough. Keywords, keywords, keywords. Like, yes, Pinterest is a beautiful visual platform, right? And that's what I think draws people in, pinners in on Pinterest is, like, ooh, I want that aesthetic. I want that design, whatever it may be. But the keywords are the secret strategy behind a successful Pinterest pin. So, using descriptive keywords, that's step one. And a lot of this is going to sound just like what you already do in your Etsy store, but you need to make sure you're using descriptive keywords in your title, your description, and also when you save your image, make sure you're using them there too. And then the tags, like I said, you want to make sure your tags are relevant. You get up to 10 of those that you can tag. So for example, if you're selling, maybe you're selling a hat for a birthday party and it's specific to a 2-year-old. Maybe your tag is second birthday. Maybe it's toddler birthday. Maybe it's birthday hat. So you can kind of see how the strategy is very similar on Etsy to how you're going to set up your pins on Pinterest using those keywords. Always, always, always use high quality videos or images. That's a no-brainer. We know that because we sell products already that have beautiful images over on Etsy. So same thing on Pinterest. There's a content calendar that you can follow if you want to plan ahead as far as like, right now it's summer. So if you want to plan ahead into what you're going to sell, or pin and drive traffic to for your store in Christmas time, for example, there's a calendar that you can follow for that so that you're not starting from scratch. And then links, like I said, make sure your links are working. I know it's really easy in the product world to maybe remove a product from a store or change a product. You want to make sure that your links are working. So I always recommend going back like maybe once a month and doing link audits in your pins to make sure that you don't have broken links, because if somebody clicks on your pin, they want something that you're offering. So make sure that you're getting them where they need to be. And then lastly, making sure that those boards are relevant to your pin. So back to the birthday hat pin. Okay. If I'm pinning a birthday hat pin, I don't want to pin it onto a board that's titled dinner recipes. That makes zero sense and it will not be favored by the algorithm. So my birthday hat pin might be pinned onto a board that's called second birthday party ideas, for example. Okay. All right. Research. Again, something that's not unfamiliar to you because I know you do research for those keywords over on Etsy, but I wanted to let you know some really easy resources that don't cost you anything to do keyword research. First of all, Google, of course, right? Pinterest trends, which I told you about. And if you can't find Pinterest trends on the dashboard of your Pinterest business page, then just search it on Google and it'll bring you right to it. It's an amazing hack that Pinterest offers. Pinterest trends is my favorite thing. It makes it easy for you. And something to note also, little secret, when you're looking at the keywords on Pinterest trends that are being offered, if it has a little crystal ball next to that keyword, it means that year after year, people search that word on like a seasonality or a repetition. So if you're making a strategy and you sell seasonal items, maybe it's Halloween, for example, you can like Halloween crafts. That's actually one that does have a magic ball next to it or crystal ball. You can know that, maybe in October, every year that keyword is going to get a spike and you have products to offer for it. And then lastly, this is one that a lot of people don't know about, answerthepublic.com. It's an amazing research for keywords because it gives this wheel. So if you type in one word, it's going to give you lots of other suggestions that you can also use alongside it. And it does give a free amount of searches. I want to say every week it renews. It's 1 or 3, I can never remember, but it's definitely worth trying out, and you don't have to pay for the subscription. Utilize your free search and see what it comes up with for you. All right. So curating your pins, just like I was talking about before, it's really important that your boards and your pins match the same kind of theme for organization and also for the sake of the algorithm. Yes, your board title and descriptions are very crucial, especially with that keyword research. They function just like search engine optimization. So the board features are so similar to the pin features. Again, you have a title, a description. Sections I actually honestly don't use. And when I went through my training with Pinterest headquarters, my trainer didn't use sections as well either. So I just say scratch sections and then making sure it's organized. You can always move one pin to a different board if you niche down more in some sort of category. Feel free to move your pins around to different boards. You don't get penalized for that at all. All right. And next, why do you want to use a board? Okay, this is really huge, guys. 25%. That's massive of Pinterest SEO traffic goes to boards. And what that means is when you create your Pinterest board with that strategic SEO keyword research, both in the title and the description of your board, you have a very high chance of competing on Google search pages. So if you find a keyword that has a lot of search and not a whole lot of competition in whatever your product may be, and you're repeating that term in your pin and in your board, there's a very high chance that you could show up on the first page of Google. And when you show up on the first page of Google, you get that click from Google over to someone that's looking for it on Pinterest. So that's free traffic. You don't have to pay for that. It's just costing you your time and your research that it takes for your keywords. Okay, and then another thing to note, and Pinterest has some beefy analytics. It's amazing the statistics that they offer us as users. So you want to make sure that you're checking the engagement metrics over on your Pinterest business account. And if you don't do a business account, you will not get the statistics. So it's very important. That is why you want the business Pinterest account. Okay, so you'll get analytics overview as a whole on your Pinterest account. You also get very niche down pin statistics, which I love because you can go in once a month and say, oh, wow, this specific pin is outperforming everything else. And then you figure out how to re-strategize that content, whether you're repinning it onto another board, or maybe you're creating more pins with the same content because you can see that there's a demand for it. And then lastly, the other really important insight is to know the audience. So the statistics really niche down, like, is it a man or a woman that's searching over onto your product? What is their age group? Where do they live? All of those things are shown in the statistics. So the guesswork is taken out and you know who is looking for your products and your pins. Okay, so we're winding it up here. This is a work smarter, not harder type of pin or slide. And these are the different, this is like very jargony, but scaled ingestion methods for publication on Pinterest. What that means is that these are different ways, like Instagram claiming, for example, I have my Pinterest account linked to my Instagram account so that when I share a reel on Instagram, it automatically pins as a Pinterest pin on my Pinterest page. RSS is a feed is another way. You can definitely bulk upload your pins. And then lastly, of course, incorporate Pinterest over into your social media strategy. You also, I'm just thinking, if you didn't already know, if you look at your Etsy listing, like a specific listing as it's seen by a viewer on Etsy, if you look at the very top, you'll see a little Pinterest icon. And if you click that, it will share your listing directly from Etsy onto a Pinterest pin. And that's another really good easy hack for a pin as well. So I do have, of course, a free blueprint that you can follow. I know this is a lot of information, but I promise you Pinterest is so worth it. In the 9 years of my own product-based business, the sales that I have been able to generate from Pinterest into my Etsy store are invaluable. So if you don't want to, spend extra money on ads and you want to try a free strategy that only requires your time and drives that perfectly ideal customer to your site, Pinterest is the way to go. So shannamariebennett.com/pound freebie is where you can find your free blueprint on a deeper way to strategize into your Pinterest account. And I am so happy that you joined me today. Thank you so much. And happy pinning.